There are few video game themes that are as atmospheric as the Zelda dungeon themes, all reflecting the often claustrophobic and unsettling vibe of their respective locations. They might not be the stars of the show that people keep talking about, because they're often not the most melodic tracks, but damn are they good at displaying a valid and relevant sound and feel to the dungeon in focus. Each and every dungeon has some sort of sound or effect that makes you feel exactly what the developer wants to feel in that exact moment. Now, a lot of video game music has this as its purpose, but few are able to reach that same level of quality as Zelda. And in this video I'm going to explain why, so let's take a look at what makes all these themes so great. One element that plays a vital role in the music's ability to have an effect on the player is the very first sound you hear. The first few seconds of the song is crucial for giving the player a right first impression of the dungeon in focus, and especially in Twilight Princess, the music does a great job in giving you an immediate impression upon entering, for then proceeding with the main track. Here's an example. Arbiter's Ground, an old prison built to house only the worst criminals before trial, exile or execution. How much time does it take to make you feel creeped out when you get there? That took 3 seconds. Okay, Snow Peak Ruins. You hear that? The song instantly greets you with this very warm and reassuring sound, making it feel like a relief to get there. It is super fitting as it reflects the feeling of getting inside this big warm mansion in this otherwise freezing area. And time again, they use this trick to give the player an appropriate first impression of the dungeon in focus. Gore and mines, mining sounds, lakebed temple, creepy water sound, the Temple of Time. Of course, the intro is only a tiny part of the song. Another key factor in these themes' successfulness is how they manage to stay rhythmic, keeping a red thread throughout themselves, which is extremely effective in giving the player a sense of that he or she is progressing. If the theme constantly follows a rhythm, it can make you feel like you are too. A rhythm is the same as a pattern, and the human brain loves patterns. Besides, looking for and following different patterns is the key to solving any puzzle. I think Twilight Princess especially does a good job in that department with Snow Peak Ruins, the Forest Temple, Temple of Time and Goron Mines. All these themes have very audible beats in the background, and some are even, well, just beats. The best example of this is probably the Temple of Time, which almost purely consists of different rhythms that blends together, creating an almost stressful vibe, giving the player an urgency to advance as well as a feeling of constant progression. It's genius, very effective, and we see this tool being used time and time again in Zelda dungeons. Like everything else though, it has a downside, cause if you get lost in one of these dungeons, which we all have done at one time, the music can be a source of frustration. It works really well if you're constantly progressing, finding out ways to solve puzzles and succeeding in your orientation, but as soon as you're lost, having no idea of where to go or what to do, these extremely constant themes can make you feel even more frustrated. If the music progresses and you're stagnant, it can stress you. That's why being stuck in Zelda dungeons are one of the most rage-inducing things ever. I think this is maybe the most important keyword. The Zelda dungeons are masters at establishing atmosphere with realistic sounds that often have some connection with the subject of the location in focus. The Deku Tree from Ocarina of Time is a great example of this, as it solely uses a pan flute as its instrument, which perfectly fits the whole forest vibe that the dungeon has going for it. It is a great example of how the composer, in this case Koji Kondo, has looked at the thing he is composing, found something similar to that in real life, and used something within that genre as an inspirational tool for making the music for the piece he is composing. This is very smart because it authenticates the music, making it seem more believable, which again strengthens the atmosphere. The use of ambient sounds such as wind and breathing sounds also helps strengthening the atmosphere of the dungeons. This is because it is very realistic to have these types of sounds in the locations they're used. For example, in Lakebed Temple, which is underwater, you have this water dripping sound effect, and if you listen very closely, the note sounds a little bit distorted, in the same way that things sound distorted when you're underwater. It is this extreme attention to detail that makes these themes so realistic and good at reflecting their respective environments. Again, the choice of instruments plays a huge role here, and while I can't put my finger on why, for example, this distorted guitar sound fits the Lakebed Temple so well, I have no doubt there is a well thought out reason for why these exact instruments are used. Generally, the dungeon themes have a more focus on ambience rather than melody, which makes sense because the music shouldn't be a disturbance to your focus, but rather just add to the specific vibe the location sends off. Yet, a lot of the dungeon themes sound surprisingly good when taken out of context. For example, the Stone Tower Temple from Majora's Mask have a really good melody, which is one of the biggest reasons for why the temple is so popular. And literally all the dungeon themes from Breath of the Wild have great melodies. This isn't necessarily something that dramatically increases the effect the theme will have on the player there and then, but makes the themes more memorable in later times, which is smart because it will make the themes more nostalgic to people, thus strengthening the impact the dungeon will have on the player, but in a more indirect way. In short, for an immediate impact, the melody isn't really that important, but for more long-lasting impact, memorable melodies can be to great help, and while all Zelda dungeon themes put atmosphere over melody, they still try to get in a good melody whenever it is possible, which of course us as fans can appreciate. Anyway, if you want to see more Zelda and video game music related content, make sure to check out the recent video I made counting down and analyzing my top 10 favorite tracks from Zelda Breath of the Wild, and subscribe for even more. Feel free to tell me what's your favorite Zelda dungeon theme down in the comments, and why you like it. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching this video, I hope I'll see you in the next one, and so long, Deku Seeds.